Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. The leaks of chapter 1061 of One Piece have come out on the internet, and now we have a large part of the events that are going to take place in this chapter. So in today's video, we're going to talk about every event of this upcoming chapter and some of the big revelations that happen. But before we get into these leaks, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like, or maybe even subscribe and let us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content, and if you'd like to help us out in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or your favorite with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into these leaks about chapter 1061. The chapter is titled Egghead, Island of the Future, and we see Germa 66 fleeing Totaland with Caesar, who appears to be a bit more scared than those around him. On the very first page, we see Luffy, who is still in the air going towards the girl who was in the previous chapter, inside of a big bubble of water, and Luffy approaches her, asking her who the woman was. We see Bonnie in tears and coughing, and is momentarily relieved, saying that she was safe, but then quickly goes back to a frightened expression, wondering where the monster was. Bonnie seems to be looking for something, and then shouts that he was still down there, and then tells the Straw Hats to look down, but apparently the Straw Hats didn't seem to be listening to her. Nami and the others are calmly looking at her, and Nami even says that Bonnie seems to be okay. While Usopp asks Luffy where they were going, Frankie and Sanji seem to be the only ones who realize that Bonnie was shouting something, and Sanji says that Bonnie had told them to look down. We then see a large shark robot appear with its mouth open, ready to swallow the Thousand Sunny. Its size noticeably larger than the Straw Hat's ship, enabling it to easily swallow everyone into it and bringing it in itself. As they look down, all the Straw Hats see the large robotic creature below them, and they begin to scream in fear. And while others look down, someone shouts out that this creature was scary. The robot shark tries to eat the ship, but they somehow manage to escape from its bite. Zoro says that the shark was really big and made of some kind of metal, and some crew members shout out to tell them to hold on to something because they were about to land. We next see Jinbei holding on to some part of the ship while saying that Luffy and some of the others had fallen into the water, and the situation was terrible. And then Jinbei asks Frankie to take the helm and to get them out of there. After the Thousand Sunny had come back down from being tossed up by the robotic ship, they were about to use a coup to burst, and Frankie prepares to use it and activate it. However, the shark robot shoots missiles out of its mouth, and they are directed right at the Sunny. A huge explosion goes off, preventing the Straw Hat ship from being able to leave, and ends up causing some serious damage to her. And as the Straw Hats fall off the ship, we see crew members shouting about what was happening and what could be going on. Frankie says that they must have been hit by something and that they were about to sink, and as they were close to going deeper into the water, Sanji just only seems to be concerned for Nico Robin and Nami's safety, calling out their name trying to find them. We see Jinbei dive and move swiftly through the water to save Luffy and Chopper, and telling them not to worry because he was there. But next, a big explosion goes off near Jinbei, and he's wondering what's going on. Because of all of the explosions of the movement, the waves were incredibly strong, so it was going to be difficult for a ship to navigate out of this situation. But then, to the side, Jinbei sees a big robotic shark coming up on him quickly, and while holding Luffy and Chopper, he sees the eyes of the creature approaching. The shark opens his mouth and shoots 2 missiles, and while they're on their way to Jinbei, who is now holding Luffy, Bonnie, and Chopper above the waves, Jinbei, in an act of desperation, tells them to hold their breath because he was going to dive deep into the ocean. Following a big explosion, we see Jinbei swimming away from where the robotic creature was, and again, we see the shark robot turning its attention to the Thousand Sunny, licking its metallic lips. The ship's crew in the water says that the shark is just too fast, that they may not be able to get out of this. And while the shark shows only a big smile, a giant robot appears and gives it an incredible punch. This apparently destroys the shark robot, and in the next frame, we see the Straw Hats that had been on the ship all in the water where the robot had defeated the shark robot. The scene then changes to a nearby island, Marine Base G14, and we see Tashigi very happy, telling everyone present that it was time for tea. And in the next frame, we see Tashigi talking with some of the people there. It ends up being large children, and many of them start complaining, saying that they only drink it because Tashigi insists, and complain about the taste, while other kids complain about other random subjects. Tashigi is then approached by G14 Vice Admiral titled Doll, and she asks if she has a second to talk because she would like Tashigi to do something about Helmeppo's attitude. Tashigi replies that she doesn't really think that she can do anything. After all, Kobe is Helmeppo's best friend and kinda even considers Kobe kinda Helmeppo's hero, so it'd be hard for him not to contain his feelings at this point. Then we see Helmeppo crying, saying that he was begging them, asking him if they were not on the same side, if he could at least do something, and we see him kneeling before a Navy captain. Another Navy captain goes to kneel before Tashigi as well, and begs that she wanted to help Kobe, as he had helped her on many occasions. So Hibari and Helmeppo were begging the Marines to help Kobe. Helmeppo pleads for them to take them to the pirate island, and Hibari pleaded with him as well that they had gotten information about who this Marine was and that they were asking permission to do this. We then see who everybody had been talking to, and it was Prince Cross, a member of SWORD, who, as well as Kobe, Hibari, and Helmeppo. And Prince says that they were talking about Pirate Island. I mean, this is the main base of Teach and his pirates. If they tried to do anything against it, all the pirates would turn against the Navy, causing them a huge problem. But Helmeppo replies, saying that they were near Egghead Island, and so they could use the Seraphim. And before he finishes this sentence, Prince cuts him off, and saying that they two of them needed to calm down for a second. I mean, they couldn't even talk to ex-Drake at that moment. And if they had to do anything, they had to consult Drake before they went out and did anything rash. The chapter then returns to where Luffy and his group are, and they've taken shelter in a nearby cave where they were attacked by the shark robot. And Bonnie asks them if they know who she is. But before Luffy can even answer, Bonnie says that she is a supernova just like him. She goes on to remind Luffy that she too was in Sabadi Archipelago with them 2 years ago, along with all of the others that were involved with Admiral Kizaru showing up and trying to hunt pirates that were around. Luffy is pleased to learn that she's a pirate of the worst generation just like him, and Bonnie introduces herself, speaking her name, but reminding Luffy that she was an enemy. But all the same, she thanks him for saving her. Luffy, still happy, tells her not to worry and then changes the subject, saying it seemed to be getting colder to Chopper, who was standing right in front of him. And then Bonnie asks him what had happened to his bounty poster. Bonnie notes that his hair was white and the newspaper was making a big deal of it. Luffy, in an iconic scene, says that this is just how he looks when he's free, and then goes on to say something else, but we don't have any information about what this panel says because there seems to be a big watermark on top of the speech balloon. Jinbei then questions Bonnie about her ship, asking her what had happened to her and her crew, and Bonnie just says that she'd gone there alone, although her ship had been eaten by that metal monster. But then Bonnie looks to change the subject quickly, saying that she was hungry, and if we know anything about our Captain Luffy, he goes on to say that he is also hungry and that they needed to find a restaurant. And Chopper happily asks Luffy if he had any money, but Bonnie scolds them, saying that there were no restaurants in any of these areas nearby because they were on the world government's islands, and starts to explain to them where they were. Bonnie explains that this was Egghead Island, and that they call it the land that is 500 years in the future, and it was Vegapunk's Island Lab. Luffy quickly recognizes the name, saying that he'd heard of it. The panel then shows a part of the island where some is covered by clouds, but we can also see some construction going on that looks a bit like Saturn, where there's a planet, but maybe the ring hasn't been fully built, where it's broken off and there's a large opening in the middle. Bonnie goes on to say that she had some unfinished business with Vegapunk. And again, the scene changes, and we now see the large robot holding the Thousand Sunny still standing in the sea. Somehow, the Straw Hats are back on the ship, but seem safe, and Frankie is the first to say something, expressing a very terrified face, saying that the robot was giant. And Usopp says that it was a giant robot, while the other Straw Hats were either serious or looking scared to death in front of that giant robot. And next, the robot opens and we see a girl inside. And she says that she just failed again, that she wonders why she can't control the desires or appetites of a being, probably referring to the shark robot that she had just destroyed. Sanji seems to notice something about her movement and is really the first to notice that she's there, but his face is a little hidden because he's wearing a helmet and glasses. But then we hear the girl grumble from the robot, saying that, well, this is problematic. Frankie starts to say that he didn't know who she was, but he wanted to thank her for saving them. But apparently the girl didn't seem to care about what Frankie was saying and just ignores it. And she starts talking about herself and something about her upbringing. The girl says that she had given the Mecha Shark the order to just watch, report, and shoot fire, and that if it were to ever eat, there'd just be nothing for it left. So it must have been a program error on their part. And in the final panels, the girl takes off her helmet, and it's possible to see her face. But she looks kinda young, and she goes on to say that it really wasn't her intention to save them. After all, she does work for the world government, and then introduces herself as Dr. Vegapunk. And there you have it, my friends, the leak for chapter 1061 of One Piece. So with all that covered, we would now love to know what you think about it. Now that we've seen, do you think this is the real Vegapunk? I mean, this is a character that we have heard about for so many years and has lived in speculation. What do you think? Do you think this is the real deal, or maybe just another robot or distraction? Next, what do you think Bonnie's kind of unfinished business with Vegapunk is? There's a lot of talk, and that we have confirmation that there seems to be a relationship between Bonnie and Bartholomew Kuma. Now, whether they come from the same country or had some kind of relationship is yet to be revealed. But do you think that her business is about Kuma or something else? And finally, how do you think all of these strange movements have happened? I mean, around this Egghead Island, what do you think they're building? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So my friends, as we wrap up this leak video for chapter 1061, I want to thank you all so much for watching the video all the way up to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like or hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I can't wait to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.